Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The title of today's hearing is preparing for and preventing the next public health emergency, lessons learned from the coronavirus crisis. Lessons learned, I think the key lesson learned is that Dr. Fauci misled the country, and he did so right from the get-go. By February 1st, 2020, Dr. Fauci knew 7 fundamental facts, represented by the first 7 posters behind me, 7 fundamental facts that he did not share with the American people. First, he understood that American tax dollars went to EcoHealth, and that money was then funneled to a lab in Wuhan, China. Second, he knew EcoHealth was given an exemption from the pause on gain-of-function research. Third, the security standards at this lab in China were deficient. Fourth, Dr. Fauci knew that EcoHealth was not in compliance with their grant reporting requirements. They weren't adhering to the contract. Fifth, gain-of-function research was, in fact, being conducted in the lab in Wuhan, China. Sixth, the P3CO interagency review process wasn't followed in approving the grant to EcoHealth. And finally, 7, Dr. Fauci likely knew, let me say it the other way, Dr. Fauci knew that the virus likely came from the lab that our money was sent to. So think about it. American tax dollars went to a company that wasn't properly vetted, that didn't comply with its contract, who sent that money to a lab in China that wasn't up to code and was doing gain-of-function research. And what happens? The very city where that lab is at, a deadly virus breaks out, a deadly virus that would ultimately killed 6 million people around the world. And what did Dr. Fauci do when he had this information, again, February 1st, 2020? What did he do with this information? Did he tell the President of the United States? Did he go to the Commander-in-Chief and said, hey, we got a deadly virus that's broken out in China, in Wuhan, where we've been sending American tax dollars to a lab that's not up to code, that's doing gain-of-function? Did he tell the President of the United States? Didn't tell the President. Did he tell the Chief of Staff? Maybe he thought, you know what, I don't want to take this bad news to the Commander-in-Chief. Maybe I'll give it to the Chief of Staff. I know he'll tell him. He talks to him every day. Did he tell the Chief of Staff? Didn't tell him either. How about the experts in our government? Did he tell his boss? Did he tell Secretary Azar? Did he tell Dr. Redfield, Dr. Birx? Did he tell Dr. Giroir, one of our witnesses today? Didn't tell any of them either. No, what he did instead was organize a conference call February 1st, 2020, 2 p.m. with him, Mr. Collins, and 11 virologists from around the world who he had been handing out American tax dollars to for years and years and years. And on that call, it's interesting. On that call are a couple virologists, Dr. Gary, Christian Anderson, who had said things like this. Here's what Christian Anderson said: virus looks engineered, virus not consistent with evolutionary theory. He said that on January 31st, the day before. Dr. Gary said on February 1st, that very day they had the conference call, I don't know how this gets done in nature, but it would be easy to do in a lab. They all get on this conference call, they get their story straight, and 3 days later, the very people who said this thing came from a lab change their tune and say that anyone who thinks that's crazy. Wow, that's a dramatic change in a matter of days, and the only real intervening event was this conference call that Dr. Fauci organizes. It's bad enough when you have the truth and you don't share it, but what's worse is when you have the truth and you say things that directly contradict it. Dr. Fauci told us over the last several years it wasn't our tax dollars. Yes, it was. Right there's the grant to EcoHealth. He told us it wasn't gain of function. How about this email from NIAID, from Mr. Daszak, the head of EcoHealth, to NIAID, where he says, Dear Jenny, this is terrific. We are happy to hear that our gain of function research funding pause has been lifted. Dr. Fauci told us it wasn't a lab leak. Sure looks like it was. Sure looks like it was, and the people he's been handing out the money to, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Gary, said it was. And that's not to mention all the other crazy things he's told us. The vaccinated can't get it. The vaccinated can't transmit it. Boy, he was wrong about those. He told us that masks work. He told us that there was no such thing as natural immunity when it came to this virus. All kinds of things he told us wrong. So the lessons we learned is you can't trust some of the folks who were supposed to be giving us accurate information, because they sure didn't. And they knew from the get-go. They knew from the start. So I look forward to hearing from our witnesses. Look forward to seeing exactly what's in this report. That we didn't get into any of this. We didn't get into any of this. The chairman mentioned we can't look backwards. Well, we sure should look backwards, because if you got a government not giving it to you straight, that's something that you have to make sure we understand so it doesn't happen again. Not only we don't want a terrible virus happen again, we don't want the government misleading us about a virus that could happen.